Well, no more need for that, my child, because I will explain every logic block in the game. And trust me, I have quite an experience. Now let's get to the basics. Outputs are what your logic gate is giving power to. In our case, this link hub is giving power to these 3 logic gates. And inputs are what give your logic gates power. This is a link hub. When given a signal, it outputs a signal opening the door. The OR behaves exactly like the link hub. The NOT gate is the opposite of the link hub. By default, it will give an output until given an input. The XOR gate can have multiple inputs, but if more than one of them are active, it won't output. The flipper gate will only output for a selected amount of times in its settings, then you have to stop powering it, then repower it. If you change its time in the settings, it will stay active for that time until requires repowering. So if you make it 10, it will stay on for 10 seconds, then it will need repowering. The AND gate must have all its input on to give out power, being the opposite of XOR gate. The timer must have power constantly time until its selected time in its settings is satisfied. If we make it have a 10-second timer length, it will need 10 seconds of constant powering to output. And if we uncheck the resets when powered box, it will never increase even when unpowered. The looper will repeat an off and on sequence until its given amount is satisfied. The loop repetitions is the amount it will close and open. So because it is set to 10, it will open 5 times and close 5 times. If the loop repetition amount is odd, then it will close 1 time less than the times it opens. Or in other words, the loop will end with it still outputting. The interval setting is the time bet when each time it opens and closes, so it will stay open for 3 seconds, then close for 3, and so on. The loop continues when off basically means that the loop will continue no matter if it still has power or not. Now let's test it. This will open and close 5 times each. While the other one will open it 5 times and close it 4 times, only making it stay open. This one will have a 3-second delay bet when each time it opens and closes the door. And finally, this will finish the loop no matter if it is still getting power or not. unlike the previous one which must be always taking power to finish. The randomizer will output to a random output it's connected to when powered. Now let's say it's connected to 6 different doors and we make it so its max selecting size is 6 and its min is 1. That will make it so it open a random amount of doors from 1 to 6. It will also randomly choose the 6 doors. And if we raise the amount of min targets, then it can't open less than that amount, and so on. The remember first target simply makes it always pick the choice it made first, so it always picks the same output. So it will only pick a random target the first time and stay loyal to it. Now let's add to doors and make it remove choice and restart mode. Now it must cycle through all existing outputs before it can pick the same output again. Only when it cycles through all outputs, then it can pick the same one again. Now it's done and will start choosing 1 second it already choose. Finally, if we set it to remove choice permanent, it will never choose the same thing again even after cycling through all existing outputs. Now it won't activate anything because it can't power the same thing twice. The modify gate only has one setting for now. It basically clears the player's data because if you didn't know, whoever presses a button or a level or etc., the game knows their name, badges, what items they have, their achievements, etc. Useful only in a small amount of situations. Second to last, we have the if gate. As I said before, activating anything will carry your data, and to pass the if gate, that data must have what it is required. Let's start by making the if gate require the owner to press the lever. And because I'm the owner of this plot, it will pass the power without a problem. Now let's make it require the wrench item. It will open and close normally because its mode is still or, and that it requires now either having a wrench or being the owner of the plot. Now make it so the other lever is or not and requires oneer. First one works as usual. While the other now requires anyone who isn't owner of the plot to active. Now if we make one and mode while the other is and not mode. We will also make one require an apple item while the other needs a wrench. The first one now must have a owner holding a N apple to active. And the other one won't active for anyone holding a wrench and is the plot owner. Finally, we're going to test the badge system. Let's create a simple badge called badge test. Okay, now we have created it, we need to give it to the player. Now it won't work unless you have the apple and are the owner and have the badge. Now in conclusion, the OR mode must have one of its conditions can be anyone in order to active. The OR not mode must have none of its conditions to active. The AND mode must have all of its conditions to active. The AND not mode must have all of the unallowed conditions to be active at the same time to not work. Now last and not least the counter block, operation gate and counter of gate. This screen will represent the number inside the counter block. You can start off by setting the counter block to anything. As shown, the number is 10 as in the counter block. Operations gates have 4 modes set: multiply, add, and subtract. Connect the operation gates the counter block you want to operate on. And connect a power source to the operation gates to active them. They simply do operations on the counter block you connected them to. They are very simple. You can change the number they use as you need. To use counter if gates, place them down and connect the counter block to them. They have 2 settings. The comparison sting is pretty self-explanatory. while the value is what the counter block you connected to the counter if gate must be for this counter if gate to emit power. And now because I set each one to 10, 20 and 30. To first door will open when the counter is at 10, the sec at 20 and third at 30. This is useful, for example, in this situation. In the map you saw in the intro is a FNAF map. And I used this system here to animate the doors. It works either subtracting or adding to a counter block with each number being an animation frame. This is the counter block. It's connected to 5 counter if block. Each one activates a powered block, giving the illusion of movement. That's all, but I promised some bonuses and here they are. If you only came for the tutorial, I also have a cool logic gate machine, a cool building hack also incoming. If you are confused how I made a button act like a lever in this FNAF map, that is because I used this system behind the operation gates. It switches between on and off when it receives power, acting like a lever. Here is the machine separated. Here's how to make it. Place 2 non-touching powered blocks. Place 2 NOT gates. Place a teleporter on top of each powered block. Place 2 timers and 2 AND gates. Place a flipper gate and connect a button to it. Then place a button with at least 3 seconds of delay. To be completely safe of the possibility of this breaking this, make it 5 or more seconds. Place 4 touch detectors, 2 under the powered block and 2 behind the teleporter blocks. Make all their settings so anyone can use them and they won't stay active after touched. Connect the flipper gate to both AND gates. Make it so infected are affected by the portal and make it have a TP delay of 0. Connect the touch detectors, connect to their respective timers. Make these timers connected to the opposite portal. Add 2 link hubs and have each top touch detector connected to one. Connect the button to the flipper gate and the flipper gate to both AND gates. Each AND gate to its own NOT gate. And each NOT gate to its powered block. Connect the top touch detectors to their own AND gates. Move the top touch detectors so they are inside the teleporters. Add a custom NPC and make it friendly idle mode. Lastly, make each touch detector extend to the bottom. Now when you press the button, it should cycle between powering the left and right side. Now for our building tips. Let's say you want a wall with 2 different colors on each side. You can place a monitor and place blocks off of it so it ever so slightly will move the block you placed by a very small amount. You can see how small that amount is here. Though I wouldn't use this much because it overlaps blocks, making the wall pretty ugly. Using this without covering the overlaps will require you to place more monitors and place blocks at the edges and so on. Okay, now let's say you have a vent. Give it some love and don't make these ugly ones. Try this instead if you have a thin wall. Looks much better. The slab can also offset blocks by half a block like the monitor. So if you have a full block wall, try this. Try to give your vents some texture. Personally, dark gray diamond plate looks best. Add the 360 vents and you're done. By the way, if you place things off an offsetted block, the thing you place will get the same offset. Okay guys, that's all. I hope you enjoyed. I want you to remember that this all may seem hard at first, but end of the day, it's all logic.